Hmm. The dogmatic nature of feminism. Well, what's that supposed to mean? Well, first, I have to clarify a certain topic that I have not really discussed. I've mentioned it a few times in my videos, but I've never really actually gone in depth with regards to my position on feminism and how that relates to me as an atheist. So there's this whole movement going on called Atheism Plus, which is present in the atheist community, and these, I think, select few members would say that Atheism Plus is something along the lines of the fact that they are atheists and they are feminists, or they are atheists and they are for gay rights, they're atheists and they are pro-abortion. Now, why don't I support Atheism Plus? Well, I think it kind of goes contradictory to what an atheist actually is in its purest form, which is a person who does not believe in a god or god and does not adhere to any sort of dogma of any kind. Now, that doesn't mean that atheists can't be superstitious. It doesn't mean atheists can't believe in ghosts and whatnot. But I think it kind of goes contrary to what an atheist is when you embrace things like certain values or certain beliefs, and you lump them together with this non-belief in a god or gods. So what does this have to do with feminism? Well, I'm sure many of you have noticed that a very popular Atheism Plus stance is to support the fundamental beliefs and values that feminists support. And this has kind of been popular with a lot of big-name atheists like P.Z. Myers and Rebecca Watson, aka Skeptic. But what I've just described is not why feminism has become dogmatic. It's an example of where. So the question that must be asked is, why do I think feminism has almost become like a religion? Reason number one, and this is, again, all my personal opinion, but I'm starting to feel that modern-day feminism relies a lot on faith. Take the idea of the patriarchy, for example. It hasn't been shown in any demonstrable way that it exists in the 21st century, especially in North America, where most modern-day feminists generally coalesce. Now, of course, feminists will be running up to the mill and saying, here's an example of oppression of females, here's another example, look at this, look at that. Yeah, I get it. Those are examples. But is there any really measurable way to show that women are more oppressed than men, and that men are continuing to oppress women through this political and social system which is designed to benefit men by oppressing women? I don't think this has been shown in any reasonable way. Now, if you want to make the case for other countries, or if you want to make the case for an earlier time in history, then by all means go for it. But where feminism is probably most prevalent, I think, is where it's least effective, and where its claims are not quite as concrete as feminists make them out to be. As far as I'm concerned, there hasn't been any real empirical evidence showing the existence of a system where men in power twirl their mustaches, stroke their cats, and drink tea going, how best should we oppress women today? Reason number two, the professional victim complex. Now, I realize there are women who are currently being oppressed today, and there are many areas where women need rights that they currently do not have. I understand that, but at the same time, I think that if anyone tries to deny the existence of professional victims within the feminist movement, especially in North America, then you're just kidding yourselves. Getting hit on in an elevator is not grounds for harassment. Neither is eavesdropping on two men making a joke about dongles. Stuff like that. Now, I know, again, those are just two small examples, and I know not all feminists would necessarily agree with the mainstream on those examples, but you see my point. The women in both examples, both feminists, by the way, make themselves out to be these oppressed victims trying to fight against a system that just wants to crush them and others like them. And I think it's insulting, first of all, to actual people who have to face real oppression, in third world countries, in places where their rights actually have been taken away from them. It's an insult to them. It's an insult to the rest of the world if we have to be so conserved about our speech and our thoughts and our actions so as not to trample over your feelings and risk sparking the ire of the feminists, which will lawsuit all of our asses. And thirdly, it's an insult to yourselves. Like, are you really that sensitive that you can't take any sort of criticism? Do you really expect everyone just to closet themselves when they're in front of you so you won't have your feelings hurt? I mean, don't kid yourself. And how much these people have in common with religious nutjobs and even moderate religious people who portray themselves as victims, as oppressed when they hear the slightest bit of criticism or when they hear something they don't like. Does anyone draw the resemblance here, or is that just me? Thirdly, is this whole us versus them sort of attitude that you get from feminists. You hear this from religious people, right? You're either a good Christian and you're going to heaven, or you're a sinner and you're going to hell. That sort of thing. And how many times have you heard this come from the feminist movement? Well, you're either a feminist or you're a bigot and you're a chauvinist and you hate women. It's like there's no in between. Is this sort of like what George Bush did, where it's like you're either with America or you're a terrorist? Like no in between. Wow, way to divide us like that. Now, just because I'm not a feminist doesn't mean I draw pleasure from taking away women's rights, I'm an equal rights activist, but I don't agree with the approach of feminists. I don't agree with trying to equalize the rights of both genders by only focusing on the needs of one. That doesn't make me a chauvinistic pig, now does it? Finally, it's this uber PC conservative, I'll silence you if I don't like what you have to say sort of attitude that feminists have. And yeah, the same could be said of any demographic, right? Christians, atheists, Muslims, Buddhists, whatever. Many of you may disagree with me, but I see this a lot, especially with mainstream popular feminists. Like, they turn off comments and ratings every time they see a personal message that doesn't agree with them. Instant block. They accuse people who have dissenting opinions of being bigots and misogynistic. This is the sort of attitude that you see mostly with religious people, like, oh, well, you don't believe in Christ and you're speaking against Christians? Well, clearly you hate Christians. So to name a few examples, Richard Carrier, Rebecca Watson, P.Z. Myers, Anita Sarkeesian, and so on, and so on, and so on. Now, you might complain and say, well, they don't necessarily represent what all feminists have to think, and maybe some feminists aren't quite as dogmatic as these people are with their thinking. But it begs the question. Yes, I know they don't represent all feminists, and they definitely don't represent all skeptical people. But why are they so popular? And why have they gained so much support within recent years, if no one actually agrees with them? So in many ways, yeah, I think that feminism has become a lot like a religion, especially in North America, due to the playground bullying tactics, the fact that it relies on the old us versus them, and professional victims in order to support its cause, and the fact that a lot of feminism now is extremely outdated. The idea of the patriarchy, to me, has not yet been proven. And if you don't agree with any of the points I've said, again, feel free to let me know. But until then, thanks for watching, and may the truth always be heard. Peace.